For nearly a century now, if you wanted to learn ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs, there's one book you had to start with. One. But we're not going to dive into Egyptian grammar itself today. Oh no. This is about the incredible, untold story of the book that taught it to the world.
The author, Gardiner, really hit the nail on the head himself. The book he created has this fascinating split personality. On the one hand, it's a simple, friendly gateway for students just starting out. But underneath, it's one of the deepest, most complex scholarly works on the subject ever written. And that tension right there, between simple and profound, that's the secret to its genius.
So how in the world does something like this even happen? Well, it turns out the story behind the book is every bit as complex as the grammar it explains. It's a story of a huge vision, some really fierce debates, and, believe it or not, some surprisingly low-tech, hands-on creativity.
Okay, so let's rewind the clock. We're going to start at the very beginning, with the first edition that came out way back in 1927. And its original goal? Well, it was a lot more humble than what it ended up becoming.
You'd think Gardiner set out to write the definitive encyclopedia on the topic, right? No, the initial plan was actually pretty simple, just a practical textbook. But his passion for the subject and his really specific ideas about how people actually learn, well, they kind of took on a life of their own.
And this gets to the absolute soul of the book. Gardiner was totally convinced that you can't really learn a language just by reading it. No, you have to get in there and wrestle with it. You have to try to think in it, to translate into it. So the whole book, all 600-something pages, is built around these 33 exercises. They're the engine that makes the whole thing go.
Of course, a masterpiece like this isn't just born in a quiet study. It was forged in the heat of intense scholarly collaboration. A world filled with alliances, intellectual debts, and, yeah, some very, very serious disagreements.
Now, Gardiner, to his credit, was always quick to stand on the shoulders of the giants who came before him, his teachers, Ermin and Set. He saw himself as just one link in a long chain of scholarship, and he was careful to thank every colleague who helped out. But there was one collaborator who stood head and shoulders above everyone else.
Listen to this. He called his connection to his colleague Battiscomb Gunn his greatest debt. He said, "No words can express the gratitude that I feel." I mean, that's powerful stuff. It tells you that this partnership was absolutely essential to making the book what it is.
And their working relationship was just fascinating. Gunn wasn't just proofreading for typos, he was an intellectual sparring partner. He went through every single page, adding his own brilliant discoveries. But they also argued. A lot. Gardiner called one of their disagreements, over something called the perspective relative form, a bone of contention. It was that mix of total teamwork and fierce debate that really sharpened the book into a masterpiece.
Okay, so you think the intellectual battles were the hard part? Not even close. The actual physical job of printing the book came with its own set of unbelievable and honestly kind of weird problems. So, flash forward to 1950. It's time for this second edition, but Gardiner hits a very modern-sounding roadblock, a budget crisis. Printing costs had just exploded. There was no way they could afford to reset all the type and print the book from scratch. They had to get creative. And the solution they came up with was pure, old-school genius. They used cut and paste. And I don't mean on a computer. I mean they literally got out the scissors and glue. They took photos of the original pages and then physically glued tiny, tiny strips of paper with the new text right on top of the old stuff. It's kind of hard to believe, right?
And can you even imagine how stressful that was? Gardiner himself said it created constant anxiety. The entire manuscript for this monumental work of scholarship existed as thousands of tiny, fragile bits of paper glued to bigger sheets. I mean, one wrong move and a crucial correction could have just vanished forever.
But the hands-on craft didn't stop with the glue. See, for the very first edition, Gardiner decided that none of the existing hieroglyphic fonts were good enough, so he decided to make one from scratch.
And this was a massive project. The old font was clunky, too big, and based on the wrong historical period. Gardiner wanted something elegant, something that captured the beauty of the 18th dynasty. So he put together a dream team. Expert Egyptologists, the Daguerreotypes, drew every single sign by hand, and a master craftsman, W.J. Bilton, painstakingly cut them. The result wasn't just a font, it was a new gold standard for printing hieroglyphs.
So, you add it all up. The intense brain power, the arguments, the literal cut and paste job, the artistic creation of the font, and what do you get? You get a book that has had a truly amazing life.
Just look at its journey.
It comes out in 27. Then comes that incredible cut-and-paste second edition in 1950. The demand is still so high they have to do a third edition in 1957. And today, in our super digital world, Gardiner's is still the first and last stop for anyone who's serious about learning Middle Egyptian. So why? Why has it lasted so long? It's more than just the sheer amount of information packed inside. It endures because that central idea, that core philosophy of getting your hands dirty and learning by doing, is absolutely timeless. Gardiner wasn't just teaching facts, he was teaching a method for achieving real mastery.
And this right here is the heart of everything. Gardiner believed with every fiber of his being that the hard, grinding work of translating into a language was the one and only way to truly understand it. It's tough, for sure, but it's a philosophy that has proven itself over and over again for almost 100 years.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? Gardiner's story is a powerful reminder that creating something that truly lasts takes more than just smarts. It takes fiery collaboration, it takes intense debate, and sometimes it takes a willingness to literally cut your work into pieces and paste it back together. It makes you wonder, what enduring masterpieces are being built right now with that same incredible mix of passion, argument, and painstaking craft?